हेलो। वो गाना थोड़ा ना गाना है। इतना ही बोलता है यार वो। ये आदमी इतना ही बोलता है। ऐसे करके कोई नहीं बोलेगा।
Good afternoon, everyone. We kindly request the students to occupy the front seats, please. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty members, distinguished guests, and fellow students, it is with great honor and enthusiasm that I welcome you to the prestigious G20 University Connect event here at the Indian Institute of Management, Indore. Today, we gather here under the banner of India's G20 presidency, a momentous occasion that reflects our nation's commitment to global cooperation and progress. Yadum Ure Yavarum Kelir, which translates to, the whole world is my place, and all those in it are my kith and kin. These are not mere words, but has been a reality weaved into Indian culture for thousands of years. This quote itself is from a Tamil poet called Kaniyan Pungundranar from 3000 years ago. And it has been invoked by prominent Indian leaders in multiple international forums. More recently, by our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi in United Nations General Assembly in 2019. The theme of India's G20 presidency, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, rightly mirrors this very thought. To deepen our understanding of India's profound theme and vision for the significant tenure, I invite you all to turn your attention to the screen and immerse yourselves in the essence of India's G20 presidency for 2023.
Religions, traditions, and customs. India, home to 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from challenges. The lotus, the national flower of India, represents our history and culture and symbolizes spirituality, fruitfulness, wealth, and knowledge. And that's the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
That was an inspiring video showcasing the magnificent glory and holistic vision of India and its G20 presidency. As we embark on discussions of paramount significance, it is only fitting that we begin by invoking the divine light of knowledge and wisdom. So now I would like to invite our esteemed dignitaries, Professor Himanshu Rai, Director IIM Indore, Ambassador Savitri Lakshmanan, Dr. Dikpal Darkar, Indore Cancer Foundation, up onto the stage to grace the occasion by lighting the lamp.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I humbly request the dignitaries to please take their seats on the stage. As we commence with the address of our speakers, I take immense pride in introducing our respected director, Professor Himanshu Rai, who is an accomplished educator and leader with a trail of accolades. An alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad and NIT Surathkal, Professor Rai is a distinguished educator. In his illustrious career, Professor Himanshu has served as Dean of SDA Bocconi, India, and taught at SDA Bocconi, Milan, IIM Lucknow, and Excel Rai, before helming IIM Indore. Sir's stellar corporate career includes a pivotal role at Tata Steel, where he shaped the quality systems and communication policy. Under Sir's guidance, IIM Indore has secured the prestigious Triple Crown accreditation of AMBA, AACSP, and IQUIS, a distinction held by only 100 institutions globally. A sought-after trainer, Professor Rai has honed the skill of over 25,000 professionals in negotiation and leadership across government and private sectors. His expertise is called upon for consultation by private, government, and even international organizations like the World Bank. Professor Rai is a chairperson on numerous boards, an independent director in various companies, and advisor for startups. Enthusiast of reading, dramatics, music, and quizzing, Professor Rai has passion for mountaineering and yoga. Professor Rai's life reflects a captivating blend of intellectual pursuit and artistic expression. Without further ado, I request Professor Rai to share his wisdom with this august gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for that rather generous introduction. A very good afternoon to all of you. A very warm welcome to each of you as we gather here on this momentous occasion of the G20 University Connect in association with the Research and Information Systems for Developing Nations under the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. It is an honor and a privilege to have with us Ambassador L. Savitri and our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Dikpal Darkar, from the Indore Cancer Foundation, and their expertise and insights promise to enrich our discussions today. Just as a well-composed symphony weaves diverse melodies into a harmonious whole, the G20 unites countries, each a vital instrument, collectively addressing the challenges and opportunities that resonate across our interconnected world, embodying endless possibilities. In this context, education emerges as a pivotal force, acting as a catalyst for inclusive growth, social empowerment, and sustainable progress. India's emphasis on education during its G20 presidency underscores the profound impact of quality education in shaping resilient societies and fostering innovation. Business schools have a vital role in advancing the goals of India's G20 presidency by nurturing leaders who are equipped and capable to tackle complex global challenges. They should prioritize imparting ethical leadership, sustainable practices, and cross-disciplinary skills that align with the G20's priorities. In our pursuit of knowledge, innovation, and contributing to nation building, we at IIM Indore find ourselves completely aligned with the spirit of the G20, even more with the India's presidency now. How? It is because we shape Indian leaders who understand the interconnectedness of the world's issues and are poised to drive positive change. And as India's premier business school, we play a crucial role in preparing dazzling Indian managers and leaders to contribute meaningfully to the G20's mission of sustainable, inclusive growth. As they say, etad desh prasutasya sakasha dagra janmanah swam swam charitram shikshanena prithvivyam sarvamanavaha. Our country has produced leaders who have shown as an example for the rest of the world. Likewise, we ensure the development of socially conscious leaders, managers, and entrepreneurs who are dedicated to contributing to making this world a just and an inclusive place to live in. During the recent G20 Education Ministers meeting, the EMM, held in Pune, Maharashtra, a multitude of crucial points were discussed. And at IIM Indore, our vision for holistic education mirrors these priorities. Our students are equipped with lifelong learning skills, blending foundational literacy and numeracy with digital fluency. We seamlessly integrate technology into education, aligning with G20's tech-enabled progress. Our programs empower students for the evolving job market through critical thinking and adaptability. Collaborating with the industries and research institutions, we echo G20's call for synergy between higher education and research sectors. We are not just aligned, we are shaping and nurturing the educational landscape for a dynamic state, nation, and world. Our diverse and inclusive environment for all our programs creates a global community, fostering collaboration and cultural exchange. With partnerships in 18 nations and a rich applicant pool for each one of our programs, we embody the spirit of diversity and knowledge exchange. Our emphasis on ethical leadership and sustainability aligns seamlessly with the G20's commitment to a shared, sustainable future. We believe in the power of collaboration, reflecting the essence of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the G20's vision of one earth, one family, one future. Our focus on sustainable practices and social responsibility is evident in all our initiatives, like the Net Zero Campus and being a no single-use plastic zone, contributing to the transition towards greener economies, again, in line with the G20 mission. And our Anveshan, the Center of Excellence for Waste Management and WASH, Water, Sanitation and Hygiene, is determined to create a cleaner, healthier, and happier India. Our recent recognition in the UN Positive Impact Ranking highlights our global prominence in these pursuits, for in this world, the family of knowledge and learning is diverse and interconnected. Our silver recognition at the AMBA and BG Excellence Awards for Best CSR and Sustainability Initiatives validates our dedication to a healthier environment. IIM Indore's commitment to gender diversity and women's empowerment mirrors the G20's call for women-led development, our PGP HRM program. Majority with female students exemplifies this commitment of ours. We actively contribute to women's empowerment through financial literacy programs and support for local women entrepreneurs. We champion the Vocal for Local initiative by the Government of India, aiding women entrepreneurs in marketing local products like Maheshwari saris, bark prints, bamboo artwork, and more, promoting gender equality and economic growth in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh, amongst the first few states. Just as the G20 envisions a future which is powered by education and collaboration, IIM Indore is a beacon of sustainable progress and inclusive development. G20 also focuses on the global learning crisis, implying the urgency for innovative solutions. And IIM Indore is at the forefront of addressing this challenge. Our commitment to excellence and innovation in education drives us to find bold and scalable responses. As we expand our global presence, offering specialized programs in UAE and GCC nations, we contribute to sharing expertise and practices across the globe. With a robust alumni base of over 600 in these nations, including more than 100 female alumni, we demonstrate the positive impact of education on diverse communities. Contributing to the Government of India's Education for All, we have developed 187 executive education courses, enhancing access to quality education. We have also adopted 3 government schools in the vicinity, nurturing the school students with the latest trends and technologies. It is a source of pride that our students play an active role in mentoring these young minds, helping them excel even in scholarship exam, among other things. At IIM Indore, we believe in the power of education to transform lives, reflecting the G20's mission to collaborate and uplift the global education landscape. Innovation, the foundation of G20, is at the heart of our collaborative efforts as well, exemplified by our groundbreaking partnership with IIT Indore. Together, we have pioneered a transformative program, MSDSM, Master of Science in Data Science and Management, which stands as a testament to our commitment to pushing boundaries in education, creating a program that addresses the dynamic demands of the modern world, reflecting the G20's emphasis on cross-sectoral collaboration, bringing together technology and management to shape the future of education. In step with the ever-evolving landscape of education, IIM Indore has embraced the forefront of tech-enabled learning, perfectly mirroring the G20's vision for educational advancement. Our incorporation of blended learning technologies seamlessly aligns with the G20's call for technology-driven progress in education. Through a spectrum of cutting-edge electives ranging from media and gender to cryptos and cybersecurity, we are catering to the dynamic demands of the modern world while echoing the G20's focus on relevant and impactful education. Our holistic approach extends beyond content. We are deeply invested in faculty and development, illustrating our commitment to enhancing capacity and propelling improved learning outcomes. Whether it is faculty and staff exchange with foreign universities or conducting training sessions for our staff in everything and anything that they wish to learn, MySQL, leadership, team building skills, or even Sanskrit or Tamil languages. Everything we do emphasizes coordination, connectivity, and thus ensures alignment with these priorities. Our efforts don't just meet the demands of today, but they also anticipate the needs of tomorrow, just as the G20 envisions a future where education transforms societies. navigating the dynamic landscape of lifelong learning and the future of work, the G20 prioritizes strategies for post-secondary education, technical and vocational education and training, TVET, and adult education. And in line with the G20's forward-looking mission, IIM Indore has woven continuous learning into our core fabric itself. Our executive forces and courses, spanning topics from data analytics to strategic finance, signify our commitment to preparing individuals for the ever-changing job markets and skill requisites of the future. Just as the G20 emphasizes strategies for post-secondary education and the TVET, we recognize that success in Industry 5.0 and what we call the VUCA Bani world necessitates ongoing upskilling. Our CCBMDO program aids the Army officers in a smooth transition from defense to corporate. And our EFPMG, the Executive Fellow Program in Management and Governance, offers a pathway for those seeking a rigorous research-oriented journey while working through our PhD program. Similarly, our REP and HOP, the Rural Engagement Program and the Himalayan Outbound Program, ensure that IIM Indore remains a beacon of relevance and adaptability in an era where learning is at the grassroots level, experiential, ceaseless, and an imperative. Elevating the spirit of research and innovation through collaborative endeavors, the G20 underscores the pivotal role of higher education in addressing global challenges. At IIM Indore, our commitment to research goes beyond academic boundaries. Our collaborations extend to the industry, government, and administration, reflecting our dedication to crafting innovative solutions that have a real-world impact. While our partnership with entities like AstraZeneca and HUL exemplifies our multifaceted approach, by multiple steps to address the real-life challenges, we are also trying to combat misinformation with ABP News. We also have multiple collaborations with the Madhya Pradesh and the Uttar Pradesh state governments, and also many administrative and governing bodies dedicated to solving the problems faced by our country. This aligns seamlessly with the G20's emphasis on higher education as a catalyst for shaping a better world. IIM Indore stands at the forefront of innovation, substantiating our shared commitment to making meaningful contributions to address global challenges. Drawing inspiration from the G20 Education Ministers Meeting, the EMM report, IIM Indore's educational ethos is a testament to the principles of peer learning, collaboration, and quality education. Embracing the report's lessons, our institute fosters a collaborative learning environment where students from diverse backgrounds enrich their understanding through shared experiences. We uphold inclusivity by offering scholarships and financial aid, making education accessible to diverse socioeconomic backgrounds and paralleling the report's broadening of the resource base. IIM Indore plays a pivotal role by embodying the G20's learnings, contributing to a global network of education excellence that aligns with the report's core principles. So my students, as you embark on your journey beyond the halls of IIM Indore, remember that you are equipped with not just a prestigious degree, but also the power to make a meaningful impact on the world. The G20's mission and vision of global collaboration, sustainable development, and innovation align seamlessly with the values that are instilled in you during your time here. As future leaders, you have the opportunity to contribute to G20's goals by bringing your unique perspectives into everything that you become a part of. Embrace your role as a change agent and champions of positive transformation. Whether you venture into the corporate world, entrepreneurship, academia, or public service, let the principles of collaboration, responsible leadership, and sustainable development guide your path. Through your actions and endeavors, you can inspire a positive change, foster innovation, and drive progress in alignment with the G20's aspirations. Remember, your impact extends beyond your individual journey. It ripples through the communities you touch and the challenges that you address. So go forth with confidence, purpose, and a commitment to shaping a better world that reflects the ideals of the G20 and the spirit of excellence that has been instilled inside you by the Indian Institute of Management, Indore. Your contributions, big or small, can make a significant difference in achieving a brighter and more inclusive global future. Kshanashaha kanashchaiva vidyamartham cha sadhyet kshane nashte kuto vidya kane nashte kuto dhanam. अर्थात एक एक क्षण गवाए बिना विद्या पानी चाहिए और एक एक कण बचा करके धन इकट्ठा करना चाहिए. क्षण गवाने वाले को विद्या प्राप्त नहीं होती और कण नष्ट करने वाले को धन नहीं मिलता है. Thus, today as we gather here, let us all pledge to engage with open hearts and inquisitive minds, for it is through our collective endeavors that we can create a symphony of positive change that reverberates across borders and across generations. Once again, I extend a very warm welcome to you all, and I look forward to the harmonious notes that will resonate through our discussions today. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. We, as students of IIM Indore, acknowledge IIM Indore's contribution to G20 and hope to take the legacy forward as nation builders. Next up, we have Ambassador Savitri Lakshmanan to grace us with her enlightening presence. Ambassador Savitri has done her diploma in diplomatic studies from the University of Oxford and has also studied several short-term courses for diplomats in Berlin Foreign Office and Asia Pacific Center for Strategic Studies, Honolulu, Hawaii. Ma'am retired from the prestigious position of Ambassador of India to the Kyrgyz Republic in August 2018. As an ambassador to a country essential in India's extended neighborhood of Central Asia, Ma'am contributed to furthering bilateral relations and promoting Indian interests in the region. Ma'am also held the position of India's representative to the SAARC Secretariat in Kathmandu, wherein she was responsible for promoting cooperation amongst nations despite challenges. Ma'am has served in MEA headquarters on significant desks in diverse capacities, which include public diplomacy. Ambassador Savitri has had a stellar career spanning 33 years, which has enriched her with invaluable experiences in the world of international relations and diplomacy, a glance of which we would request Ma'am to share with our audience today with her speech on the Indian G20 presidency. Over to you, Ma'am.
Good afternoon, all of you. Director Himanshu Rai, Professor, I forget your name, Dharkar, dear students, faculty, all of you, good afternoon. At the outset, let me thank IIM Indore for giving me this opportunity, and also the RIS to make me the part of the University Connect, which they have initiated. I'm told they have been entrusted to hold 100 lectures around India in different institutions, and we are well into our 90s, so I'm happy, at least, and at 90 I make an entry. Even before I begin the G20, a word about Indore. I had heard much about Indore. Is it okay? Can you hear me? About the part that it is the smartest city and it is the cleanest city, and I have had an opportunity to see the city. Certainly it is A graded, I guess, but your campus would take it to A++. So, so I have extracted myself an invitation to visit the campus again, and be a part of the campus for a little longer so that I can experience the wonderful initiatives and especially the green and ecological initiatives which you have taken. So let's get to G20. It's a bit challenging. It's a post-lunch session, so I hope you are all actively listening. And any place you flag, you can tell me so that we will make it a little lighter by some anecdote or something. So now the genesis of G20 countries is unfortunately not a very, it didn't start on a very happy note, because the G7, earlier the G8, now with the exclusion of Russia, it is G7. These countries did meet. These are the developing countries with larger economies. They met annually. And in 99, the world faced an unprecedented financial crisis, which the G7 countries were also very much affected, and they decided that the discussions need to be enlarged to include the emerging economies of the day. So the emerging economies, then they basically listed 13, 14 economies, and a group was formed, which was the G20. In 99, initially it was only a finance ministers and the central bank governors grouping, because mostly what affected the global scene was the economic part of it, and the monetary and the external debts and so many issues which you would be probably learning in your curriculum. In 2007-8, unfortunately, we were struck again by another financial crisis, which at that time the US, who was holding the presidency of the G7, decided that the G20, which was until now a financial forum, should be elevated to a summit forum. And since then, G20 has been meeting regularly. There have been some breaks because of the COVID thing. And we have now become the presidency in sense that we have taken from Indonesia last year in November the presidency of G20. Incidentally, it was the last summit which India was supposed to hold, and this year was supposed to be Indonesia. But circumstances were such that infrastructurally and other issues, we requested Indonesia to exchange from us, and so 2023 becomes the golden year for us by hosting the G20. G20 is basically a two-day summit happening in Delhi on the 9th and 10th of next month. But this summit is the culmination of many preparatory meetings which have been held at various levels. And then it's going to culminate into each of the head of state or head of government of each of the G20 members coming to and endorsing those recommendations and adapting the recommendations for an agenda for the future for the G20 countries. Now, you've all heard about the One Earth, One Family, One Future, this slogan or the logo or our our expectations of this summit. But I think the unique part for the Indian domestic outreach has been that each and every state and union territory of India has been involved in this exercise of G20. The G20 branding of the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and the logo which you see on the screen is now, from your Uber driver to your domestic help, is aware of that. And sometimes, I mean, you get questioned by a very innocuous person saying, G20 kya hai? G20 kya hai, you know? So it's become, it's really permeated down to the level which I don't know whether in the ministry also we foresaw, but it is very heartening to see that the branding has really reached far and wide. As such, a little bit about the exercise of hosting a large summit like this in New Delhi is it's not that India has not hosted summits in the past. Recently, we had the ASEAN summit. We had the BRICS summit in Goa some time ago. We had the India-Africa Forum Summit also in New Delhi. But G20 takes precedence over that this has in its membership the major G7 countries, then the other emerging economies, plus we have a large number of invitees. Some of them are permanent invitees. Some of them, the host country has the discretion to invite. So in that respect, we will have a very wide regional representation, be it any continent, be it Africa, be it Asia, or be it Latin America. It is so well represented. And the mammoth scale by which this is held is a challenge in itself. When I was handling Americas, we did President Obama's visit in 2010, and that itself was a massive challenge, bringing Delhi to almost a halt because of the security and the media delegations which accompany each of the principals. Besides, the delegations themselves are so huge, and it is a logistical challenge, a huge challenge which the government is now geared to meet, and they have been working towards it very hard. So keep your eyes on the 9th and 10th of September and see the spectacle for yourself. So let's get back to G20. The financial track of G20 continues to be very important. Many ministerial meetings have been held, but three meetings of the ministers of finance have been held, so signifying that the finance track remains the very important. The global economy remains a very important subject which the leaders discuss, and the interdependency of countries is very evident in our financial decisions and our financial systems which each country has. And all of us know that post-COVID, every country is going through difficulties in adjusting to the new normals. And the last summit also discussed this, but those discussions were taken forward and will be endorsed by the leaders. Then there are other tracks, which is the Sherpa track, under which many ministerial meetings have taken place, because G20 along the line expanded its agenda to factors which affect the other countries. So these sustainable development goals of the UN also feature into this, because each and every country, it's important to forward these goals and meet them, so that there is overall progress in these countries. So India has taken the presidency quite seriously, and we believe a constructive and consensus-based solution to each and every problem which the world faces. So our focus areas, we have decided on these in the summit, which we will push through the agenda, are the energy transition to greener world. India already heads hosts the International Solar Alliance headquarters in Gurgaon, actually, so where I come from. We have already pioneered our initiatives in solar energy. So this energy transitions into greener energies has been and is an imperative for all countries to adapt, because sooner or later the fossil fuels are going to be no longer there. So this area into wind energy and solar energy, this is something which India is going to push for and set up some goals which we can meet in near and distant future. The other area where the government and the Prime Minister himself has taken a great initiative is promoting eco-friendly, which is called lifestyle for an environment, which is a great initiative. If you all recall, the UN Secretary General had visited Kevadia in Gujarat, and along with our Prime Minister had inaugurated this concept, and this concept has caught on, and the environment ministers who met recently in Varanasi also endorsed this, and there are going to be many sort of guidelines to how countries would adopt to these lifestyles, beginning small, from avoiding plastics to avoid papers to probably bigger things which countries can take. Then India has also pioneered the digital financial initiatives. So those are also going to be part of the agenda this time, which is the digital public goods, and also the new and emerging technologies, which includes the AI and cybersecurity, etc. Climate finance was the biggest takeaway from the Bali summit last year. So that is going to continue. And we are going to now focus again on food security, continue our focus on food security with a focus on millets. So these are the issues which will be discussed among the under the Sherpa track and the finance track. So there's also an engagement track under the G20, which has actually been the most successful in the domestic outreach. This University Connect, which is happening today, the Think Tank Connect, the School Connect, the connect with the businesses, the connect with the civil societies, so many connects are under this engagement tracks, have been taken extremely seriously by India, and the domestic outreach has been a very, very positive fallout of this fallout of this approach. And the most important, perhaps, even as we took the presidency in December 2022, in January, just a month later, in 23 January, our Prime Minister actually took an initiative and brought about 125 countries together, which was called Voice of the Global South. So since the G20 includes countries of the Global South, and the countries which are not part of the G20 were part of this initiative, and their voice also, we have taken it upon ourselves to bring it into the G20 fold, so that it is truly a one family, one earth kind of an approach. So the Voice of the Global South is a very important initiative, because it not only represents the countries in the G20, but countries beyond the G20, which also have their aspirations from the G20 agenda. So as a consequence of this, the African Union, which is a grouping of the African countries, as an organization, it would be recommended that they are brought into the G20 fold. You could later call it G21 or whatever, but that would be one of the major achievements for the African countries, and through the G20, because their voices will be heard more. So now, I think I've completed whatever I had to say about G20. I look forward to your questions, because I know there will be many, and you'll be probably you have other thoughts on this, and I'll be happy to address. But one aspect I just wanted to bring it to your notice is that even the Bali summit and now the New Delhi summit is happening when the geopolitical situation in the world is not exactly perfect or conducive. You all know that the war in Ukraine has brought in alignments and sharp divisions among countries of the West and some of the countries which do not represent the West. So in the Bali summit, there was sort of a compromise on the formulation which was adopted in the joint statement or the joint declaration which was issued later. But that position by Russia and China has become even more stringent. And as a result, during the finance ministers' meeting and during the foreign ministers' meeting, which were held under the G20 rubric, unfortunately, they could not adopt a joint statement. But there was a chairman's outcome document which reflected the positions of all the countries, especially the countries which were at variance with each other. So under this backdrop, the fact that G20 is happening and the fact that India can play a role in bringing them together to agree on some solution to go forward would be also a great achievement. 20 years hence, 22 years hence, when the turn comes for India to host the G20 again, you will all be by then very senior CEOs and executives in various diverse places. You should look back and see that this is a very difficult time, but at the same time a unique opportunity for India to play a role in bringing all together and at least forge a consensus to move ahead. I just want you to appreciate this fact that things are not exactly very conducive, but at the same time challenging, and provides an opportunity for forging a consensus on difficult areas of geopolitics which we confront today. So I hope I've said enough. I would just say that wait for the 9th and 10th of September. Glue yourself to the TVs on those days and see what each and every leader of each and every G20 country has to say and how it matches your own agenda at the IIM and the agenda of India at large and the agenda of the world even larger. So it's going to be a spectacle. Sometime back, Prime Minister had inaugurated the Bharat Mandapam, which is a spectacular venue for the G20 summit. This is going to be our opportunity to shine, our opportunity to be appreciated, and the whole world is going to be watching us. So it's a proud moment for all of us. I would just like to end by saying that G20 will probably, our presidency will be over soon, but the G20 agenda stays live. The international relations, geopolitics of the day will always be relevant. So tune yourself as part of your curriculum to take interest in what's happening around the world, what's happening in different parts of the world, what do countries feel about each other, what do they do, why do they react in a particular way and not in the other way. So I think taking interest in these kind of subjects is an interesting activity. Form clubs which discuss these things, and it would be very interesting if any assistance or any expert opinion is required. We the retired community of the external affairs is totally available for you all. Thank you so much, and also wishing you all a very, very happy Independence Day tomorrow. Thank you. Shall we sit and take the questions? Yes.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable words. The significance of promoting global well-being and healthy life across frontiers cannot be emphasized enough. Mutual cooperation in ensuring good health for global community seeks that partner nations come together to optimize existing health capabilities and know-how to accelerate the process of strengthening healthcare solutions. Our guest, Dr. Dikpal Dharkar, a surgical oncologist by profession, is an eminent figure in the field of healthcare. Post his graduation from IIM Indore, Dr. Dharkar did his post-graduation at the Tata Memorial Centre, Mumbai. Dr. Dharkar has received 5 international fellowships and is the founder and secretary of Indore Cancer Foundation. In July 2009, the then President of India, Srimati Pratibha Patil, presented a citation to Dr. Dikpal Dharkar at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in recognition of his guidance and support to Charitable Cancer Institute in Amravati, Maharashtra. The Nargis Dutt Memorial Foundation, New York, has given him the Lifetime Achievement Award in New York. He is notably the only person to receive this honor. Dr. Dharkar has done more than 14,000 cancer surgeries, of which approximately 1/3 were free of cost. Without further ado, we request Dr. Dharkar to address this august gathering.
Distinguished dignitaries on the podium, Madam Savitri, Adarniya Professor Himanshu Rai ji, ladies and gentlemen, to follow a distinguished duo of speakers and then to bring into the health into the context of G20 is the responsibility that has been given to me. And in the next 5 to 7 minutes, I will try and share with you how and in what way international collaboration, whether it is G7, G20, or whatever, rallies around you if your cause for the society is good. So it was at the Tata Memorial Center that the foundation in surgical oncology was laid down. And seeing patients on the footpath and waiting for weeks and months for admission, just like you are sitting in the auditorium today, at the Tata Memorial Center, I heard the speech of Dr. Sethi, who devised the Jaipur foot of Sethi, made from retreaded tires for post-amputee patients. And he said it's an indigenous technology which I have used for post-amputation patients. So I thought to myself in the auditorium, why not do something for our country? So from there onwards started the journey of the Indore Cancer Foundation, which I will conclude in the last couple of minutes of my presentation today. But let's first go to the context of G20, because that is important to understand. Now, as we know, 1st December 2022 marked a historic milestone for India as it took the G20 presidency, and then we have heard of the vision statement of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. So while the primary driving force of G20 is the financial systems improvement and the solidarity, we have probably seen during the COVID pandemic that if health is lost, something is lost. If wealth is lost, something more is lost. But if life is lost, everything is lost. Looking at to teach is to learn. Though this may not be a teaching session, but to prepare for this lecture, G20, I've spent nearly half of my working life in the operation theater. So when Ananya Mishra, madam, brought to me this particular topic, I said, I must take it. It's a challenging topic. So looking at G20, I was trying to look at the context of the health working group that was set up in 2078, where under the German presidency, it was decided that a dialogue would be held to bring in important global issues. The group task was towards creating sustainable well-being societies, committing to achieving equitable health for the present and future generations, and the issues concerning preparedness for health systems for health emergencies. This was 2 years before the COVID pandemic came in. We all know India's success story in handling COVID. But to go back to the possibility of that unfortunate event, if yet another unfortunate event comes in, I wanted to look at India's presidency, a great milestone, and wanted to look at the fact, how well is India prepared for such a global presidency to take the lead if a global emergency takes place? Let the current figures speak for themselves. India will have more than 900 million internet users by 2023, growing at a rate of 25 million per quarter. Under the e-Sanjeevani teleconsultation platform, more than 9.3 crore teleconsultations have been provided through functional health welfare centers in 15,465 hubs, comprising not just of general practitioners, but of doctors, specialized doctors, and super specialized doctors. And indeed, India, and I'm saying it with a true heart, has become a country of milestones. Newer milestones are added almost every day. Let's look at some of them. The number of smartphone users in India was estimated to reach over 1 billion in 2023, and by 2040, the number of smartphone users is expected to reach 1.55 billion. Now, looking at this from the COVID pandemic point of view in a charitable cancer institute where we develop a national center for India's mouth and throat cancers, in the G20 perspective in the background, I must first acknowledge Professor Himanshu Rai, because he touched our institution through a collaborative program, and we got some very important documents which helped us to create some project reports. Thank you, Professor Rai. Now, that said, we also, in the era of COVID pandemic, developed a mobile phone app, because it is said that the most important thing in current times is not intellect, not knowledge, but creativity. You have to think of what is the something new which you can do for society, for the community. So I thought we will develop a telephone app, and we developed an app on cancer awareness. This was the time when people were not coming for checkup, when treatment was getting interrupted, when there was an embargo on travel, where people from other states were coming to us, we can't go to that particular place, will you do our surgical dressings or our radiation therapy? At that point in time, the creative team of our institution got together and developed an app called as a Cancer Sanket app, which was a cancer awareness app in 8 Indian languages. Now, what it did was 1 minute to download, available on Android and iOS systems, and we reached out pan-India. When we did a scrutiny, the metrics are not there. We just did not have the money for analyzing the matrix. People from Orissa, from West Bengal, because multiple languages had actually reached out and seen what is a cancer awareness app. In the G20 perspective also, I believe that digitalization of the systems, empowerment of the rural communities, improvement of the infrastructure, availability of internet across the length and breadth, knowledge on the fingertips will transform and give India that distinction to lead G20 to new milestones, and I certainly feel so. So from the point of view of our own perspective, and I'm concluding this comment by 5 or 6 areas which I thought might appeal for a health perspective. When you travel all over the world, and I've had the privilege to travel all over the world, you are actually tempted at international technologies and machines from Siemens and GE and all that. While we were developing this cancer institute, we came to know that India was developing a teletherapy facility known as Bhavatron 2, an indigenous cobalt machine. Few years back, we came to know that India was developing an indigenous linear accelerator, the Siddharth 2. ladies and gentlemen, of the two institutions in India which have received both of them as gift on the platter from the government of India is also the Indore Cancer Foundation. Now, why did we get it? We got it because we had intrinsic credibility, we had transparency, and we had the capacity to reach out to the poorest of the poor. So in that sense, our objective was, don't wait for the patient to come to you. Reach out to the patients. From my point of view, the G20 can look at indigenous technology and how it can be upgraded, because it's a variegated consortium of countries, both the developed and the underdeveloped ones. And from the other point of view, as an armchair consultant and as a surgeon in the operation theater, you are actually looking at surgery, radiation therapy, and allopathy and chemotherapy. But I looked at Ayurveda, for example. It is the learned people like Dr. Himanshu Rai who come up with suggestions like medicinal plants, who actually have an impact on you. You got to listen to people to take some ideas. So I traveled to the Transdisciplinary University of Bengaluru, the largest collection of herbarium in the world. And the Indore Cancer Foundation signed a memorandum of understanding with them. And we are currently doing a symptom relief program using Ayurveda as one of the specialty. We have had it cleared under the Institutional Ethics Committee, approved by the Institutional Ethics Committee. But mind you, no treatment of cancer currently. We're just looking at symptom management, where we stop and say, sorry, in allopathy we cannot do much here. We are looking at Ayurveda as an alternate system of medicine. There is also a photobiomodulation therapy machine that looks at side effects of chemotherapy and radiation therapy. We are looking at Ayurveda as the other arm, and the next month we are going to have an international workshop. And I can tell you that we might get some interesting figures and facts on how Ayurveda would support it. So from my perspective, the G20 can bring in integrated system of medicine, looking at holistic care, where you look not just at one area of medicine, but you also validate that integrated system of medicine by having a multinational group of people looking at your data, your methodology, your systems, and then going through what I call the fine screen of medical orthodoxy. And then you say, fine, this is good enough. So the world would get an opportunity to get from India the integrated medical systems. From that possibility, I feel that the only one area where India really can also take, one more area that India can take a leadership is medical tourism. Medical costs in India today are much less than any cost anywhere in the world. And there is no doubt about it that with the expansion of medical tourism, it is said that 0.1% of our country's GDP is now currently contributed by medical tourists. But experts say that the GDP share can reach up to 2%. And as per a Grant Thornton study, the overall medical tourism industry in India was expected to grow from 3 billion to about 8 billion. So I believe that the G20 is the absolutely appropriate platform to give to the countries medical costs at a low value, integration of the systems of medicine that needs to be validated. Before I conclude this, I would like to thank three people who helped me in this preparation of this document. The Transdisciplinary University of Bengaluru, Professor Prasanna Shankar, my colleague, Dr. Gopu Krishna Pillai, and from Mumbai, the AAA health consultant, Ahmed McLeod. It would be injustice to talk with an auditorium on the podium of which is a distinguished duo and a future group of distinguished leaders without acknowledging the people who have helped me in this talk. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Doctor, for your enlightening words. Now, that concludes the brilliant lineup of speeches for today. Now I would request Ms. Niyati Singh to come up on the dais to moderate Q&A with the esteemed panelists.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank our distinguished panel, the lead speaker, Ambassador Savitri Lakshmanan, Professor Himanshu Rai, and Dr. Dikpal Dharkar for their illuminating speeches. I would also like to thank Director IIM Indore, Professor Himanshu Rai, for facilitating this wonderful event. A special shout out to Colonel Gururaj Gopinath Pamidi and Ananya Mishra for helping organize this event. And most of all, thank you to our bright students, the future leaders of tomorrow, who have been such a wonderful audience. The Indian G20 presidency is a really proud moment for India and her 1.4 billion citizens. Now, as a fellow IIM Calcutta alumnus, I know that the students must be bustling with questions. Our esteemed panel would be delighted to answer any question you may have. In the interest of time, I would request you to keep the question concise and address the specific panelist you would like to ask the question to. If we could have a mic float around the, to kind of, or maybe you can be a bit loud so that our panelists can hear your question. Okay, great, there's a mic. So please, if you could just raise your hand if you have any question and address the question to the panelists, they would be happy to answer your questions. I encourage the students to ask any question. Please don't be nervous. Any question regarding the G20, what it means for India would be appreciated. Yes, of course, we have some takers there, yeah.
Hello. Yeah, hello. My question is with Madam Ambassador. So the theme of the G20, one of the main topic of G20 is climate finance. And we have talked about this previously also, where we as a developing nations are asking or forcing developed country to take that, to take the responsibility with theme of common but differentiated responsibility, to take responsibility of the pollution that they've caused and provide us with finance. So how does this, the theme of Vasudev Kutumbakam and the theme of common but differentiated responsibility will play out in this G20 summit, and how will India push for this agenda now, when the previous attempts have not brought any significance?
Yeah, you see the climate change, all of us know is real and happening. It is not something which we are just discussing in the books. So climate change is something very serious and has to be addressed. Although this is a realization, but there is also a politics of climate. You know, the developed countries have technologies which are eco-friendly, climate-friendly, and the developing world, since it's developing, sometimes they do not have, in the pace to develop, it is not possible for them to buy these technologies, to procure these technologies. So it was felt that to actually have a justifiable, equitable climate, the goals which we have set for us, climate change during the COP, the committee on, during the COP meetings, the developing countries and the underdeveloped world did require financing. And in the Bali summit, this was a major issue which was discussed. In the forthcoming summit, I'm told that India is going to make a pitch that about $100 billion should be made available as a pool, which the countries can borrow to improve their technologies, their industrial technologies, their ingrown technologies, so that their industries become more climate friendly. Now, whether this is going to be endorsed, whether this is going to be implemented, we have to see in the days to come. But the agenda is certainly very ambitious for the climate finance. Does that answer?
Yes, sure.
I'll further elucidate because I guess you're also pointing at a fact which has been probably being pointed out by some people of India being a spoiled sport in this entire dichotomy. Allow me to tell you that, India's position has been very, very clear from very early days. There are two issues over here. One is the stock of the greenhouse gases, which is already there in the atmosphere. The other is the issue of flow, which is your incremental addition. Now, the developed countries were always of the opinion that we will not discuss stock. We will discuss only the flow, which is bizarre. And therefore, all the developing countries, including India, said, you got to be kidding us. You have to discuss stock because you're the people who put the stock in there of the greenhouse gases. And therefore, you cannot absolve yourself and say we are going to only now start talking about the incremental flow. And I think much to India's credit, the fact that our minister, Mr. Bhupinder Yadav, managed to get the term phase out replaced by phase down is actually in line. While you're right, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, we have to take care of the entire universe. But please remember, Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam does not mean that the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries are going to bear all the burden of the sins that have been committed in the past. And therefore, there has to be this very fine line of balance. And what we are asking for is really an equitable way of looking at things. We cannot phase out, we will phase down. And whatever support that we need in terms of technology and finance has to be looked at from an equitable perspective, rather than putting the entire burden on the countries which are now emitting greenhouse gases. So I think that's a very fine line of balance, and I think it is being played out very well. And the years to come are definitely going to show that what we have taken as our position is not just in the interest of our country, but it's in the interest of the entire world.
But to address the unwillingness of the developed nations, because they are not willing to do anything about it. But then how will India use its geopolitical power, geopolitical strategy to make it enforced?
It's very interesting because Ambassador Savitri and I, we were discussing exactly this, that India is very flexible. We have our red lines, which are very, very clearly drawn. But between the red line and the aspiration, we try what we call the gentle persuasion. And therefore, the entire foreign services, of which obviously Ambassador Savitri has been an integral and an illustrious part, is moving in those directions. And some of us who train some people in negotiations are also going to help out in those things. Gentle persuasion is the answer. People will eventually listen.
Do we have any other questions? Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon. So my questions is to Professor Himanshu Rai, sir. So since my questions is related to negotiations and conflict resolution, so my question is how India is going to play a pivotal role in the conflict resolutions in terms of international economic order. So regarding maybe the US and China, maybe the Russia and Ukraine. So what is the role of India in terms of the G20 to resolution all these conflicts which is going on in the world order?
So, in fact, I would obviously ask Ambassador Savitri to also add to that subsequently. But since you have directed the question to me, I think what India is doing very successfully now for the past, several years, one, we have a very clear-cut geopolitical policy, which by and large, irrespective of the political dispensations at the center, we have stuck to. So by and large, what we call the non-aligned, bipartisan, making sure that we also take care of our interests while we are dealing with other countries. By and large, we have followed a consistent policy. What India is doing, especially now, is that India is also trying to set the geopolitical agenda. So we were talking about the complexities that the Ukraine war actually brought in, and it brought into our doorsteps. We were asked to choose sides, we chose not to. And we said, this is a decision that we are making very, very consciously, that we are going to look after our interest as well, while talking to the countries involved as to how peace ought to be brought out, and that the fact that dialogue is the only option. So I think one of the interesting things that we are doing in negotiations and conflict management is that we are defining our red lines very, very clearly, and at the same time, we are also figuring out and giving the mandate as well as the authority to our representatives, to our negotiators, whether they are from the foreign services or whether they are from the administrative services or whether they are from the political, the politicians. We're giving them that flexibility between the red line and the aspiration to actually manage and navigate the complexities. That is number one. Number two, we are trying to now drive the agenda of the geopolitical order. So we are coming up with very, very innovative thoughts. We are coming up with things that were earlier not being discussed onto the negotiating table. So we are trying to bring those issues also onto the negotiating table. And I think more importantly, we are also trying to bring about this voice of the global south together. And therefore, by making coalition with people who have similar interests, we are trying to create some kind of an enabling caucus. So multiple things. Ambassador, if you would like to add.
Yes, I would. I would very much agree with whatever is being said, but one has to understand that whether it is G20 or the UN, each and every country represented in these forums is first looking at itself, right? The second step is to do something collectively so that each one of us is helped individually also. No country will take a step which helps one group of countries but doesn't help me. I mean, nobody will take. So this is a challenge to bring consensus among the participants. And since G20 is very uniquely placed, it has the developed world, it has the developing world, and since because of the global south, we are also including the voices of those who are not represented. I think to come at consensus will not be a very large on each and every point, but wherever the consensus is there, to take that forward will be the attempt in every forum we are represented, especially the G20, because it's focused on the finance, the international. One of the areas we are focused on is the improvement of the Bretton Woods institutions. The IMF, the World Bank, etc., are permanent invitees to the G20. So they are going to be heard. Then there's going to be a consensus as to how these institutions can be more inclusive, more democratic. Because right now, they are not. I mean, it's not an ideal situation presently. But it has to slowly move forward. It has to move forward with everybody along. You cannot isolate somebody and move along. So that is why these become more challenging and a little slow, I would say. Consensus is a slow process, but it is a sure process. And as far as conflict resolution is concerned, yes, I think there are countries which are aligned, which are non-aligned. And for non-alignment, I mean, the new word which we use is strategic autonomy. So we are strategically autonomous. So we deal with each and every country which interests us, at the same time, try to forge a consensus in resolution in conflict. Our stand is very clear. We are not for war. We are for dialogue. We are for negotiation. And hopefully, this will be the solution tomorrow, although it doesn't appear today. Thank you.
Hello, sir. I think this question would be asked, I would ask this question to all three of the panel members, because when Ukraine and Russia war happened, just a few months later, another war broke out in the world, which was Azerbaijan and Armenia. But since Ukraine war was happening in Europe and the colonial mindset, which I think the West is still not getting over with, they coarsely tried to force the narrative that first, only resolve the Ukraine war, don't even look at it, don't even look at Azerbaijan or Armenia. Recently, in West Africa, coup happened, and since the erstwhile government supported France, though France is not directly getting involved, it has activated its non-state actors to suppress the coup and again reinstall the government which was functioning erstwhile. So how now the economic power is shifting from Europe, other countries, especially African and Asian economies are getting more economically mightyful. So how can G20 as a platform be used to get Europe out of that mindset that their culture or their institutions are superior? They need to look at the cultures or the institutions which these countries believe in. Especially in terms of, like, sir, when there is a war, people die. But when they die in Europe, then it's a problem. But when it is happening in other parts of the world, it's not a problem. So how to get out of that mindset using G20?
The question that you have asked will probably take us the entire evening to deliberate on, and I'm not sure whether this is the right forum. I agree with your statement, that it's people dying. In fact, there was this dialogue in the movie Troy, where this guy tells Achilles that war is old men talking and young men dying, and that's a fact. So people like us can discuss here and debate and probably give our gyan, but in the actual war, there are people dying all over the world. And you touched Africa. It's not just Niger. Everywhere. Everywhere. Africa is at war within itself. South America, there is a war out there. Now, the narrative clearly has always been dominated by a certain set of countries. But like the Ambassador Savitri also pointed out, that be it the UN, be it the General Assembly within the UN, the Security Council, be it the IMF, they have had a certain narrative. The narratives are changing because we are trying to bring, as I said, the global south together, the voice of the global south together. And sometimes one has to be patient because, like you also pointed out, the axis is shifting. So far as the wealth is concerned, so far as the GDP is concerned, so far as the prosperity is concerned, it's shifting from the West to Asia. Now, within Asia, we have our own complexities, which we will need to handle. But the fact as to how do we get somebody else out of that mindset, I don't think I have an answer. What I do understand is that there are two ways of doing things. If somebody is drawn a line, either you keep pointing at their line and keep saying, look, your line is crap, your line is this, your line is that, or you draw a bigger line. And I think that is what we need to do. We need to make sure that we talk about our agendas. We need to make sure that we bring the issues to the fore. And we need to make sure, like what Dr. Dharkar pointed out, that we drive some of the things. Like, for example, integrated medicine. The moment we start talking about integrated medicine, there's going to be a resistance by the West saying that, hey, where is the evidence? Where is your research? Because billions of dollars have been spent by pharmaceuticals out there, and clearly they are not going to very happily take Ayurveda, even as, let's say we are using Ayurveda in the Indore Cancer Foundation as palliative, for palliative care, not obviously curative. We are not making those kind of claims at all. However, with whatever we can, if we can draw a longer line, if we can draw a bigger line, if we can say that here is a philosophy which seems to be all-encompassing, here is a strategy which has worked since ancient times, I think sooner than later, people will get to understand, is what I would love to believe. Ambassador, if you would.
Yes, I would also think that, see, basically it's consensus building, and that is not an easy exercise. If you talk of agendas which are apolitical, probably it's easier. The moment you get politics into it, they become more difficult. But each and every country which you're talking about in the West or in the European Union, they have many, many other, besides the governments, which G20 spoke is basically the governments, but we have the media, we have the civil societies. And you would know that it is civil society which brought the war in Vietnam to an end. Probably it might have in Afghanistan. Probably it was a lot of effort by the civil society, which led to the withdrawal. It may have led to another problem, but it did lead to a withdrawal. And in Ukraine too, these extra the non-state actors, as you call them, played a huge role. And I would vouch for Europe, because whatever the European countries' mindset may be, they have very vibrant institutions. They can come out with solutions, protests, voices which if they feel that the war is not, it's not like the government will course down their throat that you have to take this stand. So I am an optimist. I have a feel that voices will prevail. If there are voices of sanity, they will prevail. The voices of economic interest will prevail. Once the gas and the oil prices touch the roof in Europe, it's going to pinch the masses. That will prevail. So let's be hopeful, and let's see if the consensus emerges. But till it emerges, we have to keep trying. There is no way out, really.
I think that would be the last, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is for Ambassador Lakshmanan. So since you have been in Kyrgyzstan and given the current situation in Ukraine, so I would just like to know if G20 is actually planning to get a more geopolitical insight with the Central Asian countries because of its immense resource in terms of minerals and everything, which is actually going to help us with the raw materials of production in our economic build-up.
See, once again, G20 is a grouping.
Yes.
We cannot look at it like it helps me, so I bring it into the G20 agenda. It doesn't work like that. But we do have, if you followed international meetings, we did hold, virtually though, a meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which we are the member. The four Central Asian states are member. Kazakhstan, on our initiative, is one of the specially invitee countries to the G20. So we know they are important, and we are trying to get G20 to be more inclusive, to hear them out. But it's again a consensus. But there is, as far, I mean, the Ukraine war and the Central Asia, I mean, there's the only similarity probably is that they were all part of the Soviet Union. And if you know that in UN there are 35 countries who have been constantly abstaining, and it includes the Central Asians. So their stand is as much as our stand, which we have also one of the abstainees, that the war, we don't take any sides. We believe that the war, there should not be any war. It should be negotiated. It should end on terms of a dialogue. We have individual bilateral relations with each and every country in the G20, outside the G20. So there are so many other forums to forge your interests and your agendas. So G20 works on a consensus basis. Yes. So we have to see how it interests the other countries too.
Exactly. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much to our wonderful audience and for all their insightful questions. And thank you to our distinguished panel for their enlightening and informative answers. I would now like to hand over the mic to the host for the announcement of the results of the G20 pre-event student activities which were held at IIM Indore.
That was indeed an insightful exchange with some deep questions. As Professor Rai mentioned, it would even warrant a separate session to answer completely. But thanks to our active participation from our students and to our expert panelists for such spontaneous but well-articulated answers, and our wonderful moderator, Ms. Niyati Singh. On behalf of the entire team, we would like to extend our appreciation to all our distinguished guests who have graced us with their presence today. Their wisdom and expertise have illuminated our path toward excellence. To symbolize our gratitude, I now kindly request our director, Professor Himanshu Rai, to present a token of thanks to our esteemed guests. First, to Ambassador Savitri Lakshmanan. Thank you, ma'am. To Dr. Dikpal Darkar. Thank you, Doctor. And to Ms. Niyati Singh. Thank you, ma'am, for wonderfully coordinating this event on behalf of Research and Information Systems for Developing Countries. Thank you, sir, for being our guiding light and for your unwavering support. And thank you, esteemed guests, for sharing your time and knowledge with us. Your presence has truly made this event memorable. Moving on, as part of G20 University Connect, a series of competitions were held here at IIM Indore over the past week, which saw enthusiastic participation from the student community in the events, namely G20 Quiz, Essay Writing, and Mock G20 Summit. I now request our esteemed dignitaries to present the awards to the winners and organizers of these competitions. First, G20 Quiz. Winners, please come forward. G20 Quiz, first position, Rupsha Deb and Vishal Revanur. They're not present. Okay. Moving on, second position, Sai Suchir Dachepalli and Naga Kalisetti. Third position, Shrey Sayal and Shivish Shukla. Okay, I guess the end terms and midterms have caught up them somehow. Moving on, essay writing competition, first position, Swati Suraj. Second position, Simran Katuria. Third, Jay Garg. And for G20 Mock Summit, first position, Anant Goyal. Second position, Deepansh Goyal. Third position, Muskan Goyal. And organizers.
We have someone.
Okay.
One person who doesn't have it.
Next to the organizers for organizing these wonderful events. First for G20 Quiz, the Quizmaster Shreyans Vyas. Okay. The judges of essay writing competition, Sarthak Sahu and his team. And the mock summit moderated by Samriddhi Chowdhury, who could not be here. And finally, Students' Union Chairperson Jayakumar Karthik Bharadwaj, who is not here, but expresses his gratitude for the opportunity to conduct all these events. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. And thank you to all the participants.
This concludes our fantastic G20 University Connect. We would like to take this moment to thank all the dignitaries who graced us with their enlightening presence. Professor Himanshu Rai, Ambassador L. Savitri, and Dr. Dikpal Dharkar. We sincerely thank RIS Research and Information System for Developing Countries for coordinating this momentous event. Thank you, Ms. Niyati Singh. Thank you to all the students who participated in the various events conducted under the G20. Thank you to the unsung heroes of the administrative staff who worked day and night to make this event a grand success. Last but not the least, thanks to each one of you for being such a wonderful audience today. Now I would request everyone to please stand up for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
I request everyone to please move out and enjoy the high tea. Thank you.
We request Sarthak